Hello again YouTube, Cityside75 here, and welcome back to my next pickups video. Today we're going to be looking at pickups that I got primarily in the month of May, although since I'm a little late doing this and I don't want to hold all these pickups out for another month plus potentially, I just went ahead and included some of those July pickups in here as well. So call it May and a little bit of July. I do have quite a bit, but when I was kind of thinking through this video, I didn't feel like I was going to have that many pickups this month, but then of course you go back and you start. What I do actually, this is one little trick that I use. I'm not sure what techniques everyone else has out there. But what I do is when I go to a garage sailing or to a thrift store or something like that, I just come back and I lay everything out and I just take a picture of it with my phone. And I just keep it in there. I put the stuff away then. I don't have to feel like I have to leave it out for a video. I kind of find a place for everything. And then when I'm ready to do my video, I just pull those digital photos back up and then just pull everything back out. So it works pretty well. But yeah, so as I started going through and looking at that stuff, of course it ended up being quite a bit more than I thought it was going to be. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And actually, before we jump into it, I wanted to talk about the fact that, well, first of all, the finds are mostly from garage sales, Goodwill, and Savers, which is where I picked up most everything that I got this month. But yeah, so garage sale season is underway here in the Midwest. It's been for a while, I have to say, though, at least in my neck of the woods. It's been a little bit of a slower start, just in terms of the quantity of sales. There just haven't been as many as there have been in years past around here. And then, of course, the other thing is that the competitive landscape has really changed out there. And, again, when you see the amount of things I picked up this month, you won't be feeling too sorry for me. But there were definitely, I would say probably over the last month, if I didn't hear it 10 times at least, from people that told me that they had a whole bunch of video games, but someone had already been there and cleaned them all out. And I'm no late riser. I get to actually go out to. I do go to garage sales sometimes, even on Thursday mornings, to catch those real early birds. And I'm usually out Friday morning when everyone else is at work. But yet still, and these people will have still other good stuff there. I'm a all-purpose garage sailor. I buy stuff at garage sales for all aspects of our lives. So I'm still happy to go there to find other things. But what I'll find is that these garage sales are still well stocked with good stuff. But the video games, it's like everyone is just eagle eye on the video games right now. And I think that you can see that too, just with the people that are. The number of people that are posting on YouTube now, and then the people, of course, that are watching them and seeing all this. So again, I've still managed to get some pretty decent finds, and I'm not changing my mindset. And I think that that's probably the right way to approach this, because this is the thing. For me, garage sailing and thrift store shopping has always been a very budget-friendly way to get all kinds of crazy stuff that I, would never get otherwise. Just if I, am lucky enough to run into things that I'm looking for. But now with the number of people out there, you're seeing higher prices at garage sales, and you're seeing a lot of people that are calling prices that I probably would never pay good deals. Someone that's happy that they find like a PS2 bundle with a handful of games for 40 or 50 bucks. And again, that's not necessarily a bad deal. That's probably better than eBay, depending on what games are in there. But that's still way more, my mindset at garage sales always starts under $5. And I've done well. I mean, you've seen my game room videos, hopefully, and some of the other stuff that I have. And that's not to say everything I have, I got for $5 or less. But that's where I'm going in. If anything's coming in at more than $5, I have to think long and hard before I, decide to spend that money. And I certainly don't go out garage sailing with hundreds of dollars in my pocket either. In fact, I usually limit myself quite a bit. And then if I find something good, I'll ask him to hold it and maybe get some more money. But otherwise, I figure, if I'm not carrying a ton of cash on me, it'll stop me from buying too many things that I just definitely don't need. So anyway, that's a little bit of talk about the garage sailing season. I've said before that I've been doing this collecting now for a long time, a lot longer than most other people have. I mean, in reality, I never have sold anything that I've ever bought. So, I mean, I still have all my original Intellivision games. I still have all my original Super Nintendo games, my Commodore games. I've never sold anything, aside from, a handful of things in my more recent years, but never as a kid. And I always, toted around my Commodore stuff and my Intellivision stuff, even if I wasn't putting it out. It was always something I kept with me. It was always something I didn't want to get rid of. So if you want to call that the beginnings of a collector or whatever. But yeah, so I've been collecting forever, and I come from a different time when I can remember walking up to sales, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, some of those, Sunday sales when the people are just desperate and they're keeping it open, but it's just all picked over stuff. I remember going to a Sunday sale and finding just a huge bin filled with an Intellivision and 50 games, and they sold it to me for $5 on Sunday, and not one other person had bought it. I mean, that just would never happen anymore. Anyway, okay, extended garage sale rant now over. And as I said, everything that we're going to be showing here is from garage sales, thrift stores, and the like. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's actually start with some hardware. So first of all, I got this. This is a Bear ColecoVision. I was trying to remember where I even got this from. It was a thrift store. And actually, technically, this isn't even the one I bought. What I did was I did a condition upgrade. This is my old ColecoVision, and this one's in pretty good shape, but like a lot of them, it's got a bad switch. It's got a really stiff switch, and it can be annoying to try to get that thing on and off. I know it can be fixed, but this other one has a great switch that works perfectly. So I think I'm just going to probably sell this one as a Bear system. I want to say I got it for less than $10, but I can't. For some reason, it's all very cloudy to me where and how much I paid for it. But I know it was cheap. I wouldn't have bought something like this for very much. So, but it does work. So, okay. And then the other big hardware thing I bought, and this was one of those where I went over my $5 limit, was a piece of hardware that I have been looking for really forever, and coincidentally it's in the same generation as that ColecoVision I just showed you, and that's an Atari 5200. One of my friends as a kid had a 5200, and I played that for a little bit. Another one of my friends had a Atari 400 computer that he let me borrow once or twice, and so I used to play with that a bit. And I'm telling you, from that point on, these things have just never crossed paths with me. Either one. I mean, I've seen a few Atari 8-bit computers, but they're always more than I want to spend. And the 5200, I just never see them anywhere. So this guy had the 5200 plus a bunch of games over there that I'll go through real quick. And he had the whole thing marked at $40, and he wasn't negotiating. He had another guy that was there looking at his games too, and it was early. He had just opened up his sale, and I jumped on it. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the games here. So we got Super Breakout, Centipede, Defender, Moon Patrol, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Soccer, Berserk, Kangaroo, Missile Command, Joust, and Real Sports Baseball. Actually, I picked this Real Sports Up Baseball after I found the system because I've heard that this is actually a really good 8-bit baseball game. Unfortunately, I haven't really played it because the system, when I got it, it worked about 70%. I asked the guy if it worked, and he said that it worked, that he had turned it on. He hadn't used it in years, but that he had turned it on and it did power up. And So I was like, I went on that, and again, he was close by. I don't usually go back and try to return things, but I figured, you know, I would just try it right away and just make sure it did power up, and it did. And it played the first couple games I put in it, but it was really glitchy. And then as I started putting in more games, I started to notice a fair number of them that weren't working at all. I mean, I cleaned the pins and everything else, and they were glitching in very specific ways every time, where you could just tell something wasn't completely right with the system. So I jumped into it, or jumped into it. I dove into it, I think is what you want to say, and opened it up. And, you know, I reseated the chips and did some quick diagnostics and things like that. And in the process of trying to fix it, I actually made it worse. And so I think what I ended up doing was the memory chips are very fragile on these. And so I think that by messing with it too much, I think that I must have, you know, sent some memory chips over the edge because they started to get really hot. So I've ordered more memory, and I put that in. They don't get hot anymore, but it's still only booting to a black screen. So I've got the service manual, and I think that I should be able to, you know, once I take some time to do it right, I should be able to troubleshoot it. And I've already, you know, like I said, I've already replaced all the memory. There's not a lot of other expensive parts in there, at least that of those that typically fail. The chips and things like that, there apparently are places you can get them for not a crazy amount of money. So one way or another, I hope to have it back on its feet soon. Let's see, and then for other hardware here, we've got this is an Xbox, original Xbox light gun, and these are actually surprisingly hard to find. And from what I've seen, they're not worth a fortune, but they're all worth something. I don't think they made too many of them. Of course, the Xbox was right on the precipice of HD TV and all that stuff, so you know, a lot of people weren't able to use light guns by that point. So there's not really too many light gun games for it, but it was $3.99, so I was happy to find that and pick that up. Slide those over here. Yeah, and I think that's it for hardware. So now let's go ahead and jump into, well, no, I guess we also have one other thing. I got this N64 cleaning kit for like $1 at a garage sale or something like that. So, okay, so let's go ahead and jump into some games now. And let's start with the PS1. It was actually a pretty good month for PS1 games overall. First up here we've got Roll Cage. And this was a couple bucks at, again, at a thrift store. You know, and this is a surprisingly solid game. And I think what surprised me most is the graphics. The graphics are really amazing on that game. And I've actually got it playing behind me there. It's probably, you can't see much on it, but the graphics really impressed me on this game because, especially on a older TV like that, they really have like a 3D accelerated look to them. They put a lot of effects on the graphics that are similar to what, you know, a PC graphics card would be doing at that time. Of course, it's lower resolution, but it's impressive that the PS1 could put out graphics of that quality. And it really kind of impresses me more, you know, when I see games like that with what, you know, the PS1 was probably the last system that the developers were really, you know, hitting the edge hard by the time it was done. Even the PS2, there were some games that were pushing that system really to the limits, but, you know, I think everyone felt like they could have continued making PS2 games for a few more years if they had to. And now, especially with this latest generation, the 360 and all that, you know, the graphics on these new systems look marginally better. So anyway, continuing out with the PS1 games here. Next we've got Metal Gear Solid. And of course, I picked this up. I've already got Metal Gear Solid, but I picked this up because it's in the PS2 case, because it was part of that Metal Gear Solid collection or something like that came out for the PS2. So yeah, I don't even know exactly what I'm going to do with this. It was $3.99 in Savers. This I actually just picked up today. This is basically just Going to be some more spending money here. Digimon 3 for $1.99, and this is an easy 30 to 40 bucks on eBay, it looks like. And I know from past experience that these Digimon games just sell like hotcakes. So I was happy to pick that up, and I will be happy to sell that and get some more good games with it. Also picked up today Arcade Party Pack for the PS1, which is what I'm doing here. And this, I played this for a little while. Interesting thing about this game, this is one of the few games that is not compatible with the PS2. And I actually started it on my PS2 and noticed about half the games wouldn't boot up. And it was the PS2 was crashing a lot. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And I, checked the disc and all that. And finally I'm like, let me just try this on the PS1. And it worked. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it is not compatible. Next we have Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James, $1.99 at Goodwill. Don't know anything about this, haven't tried it yet. Hope it's cool. Also we have Sorcerer's Maze, picked up for $1.99. This is a puzzle game. Been finding a lot of these random PS1 puzzle games at different times and different places lately that I've never even heard of before, like this Sorcerer's Maze. Never heard of this before. Like Pipe Dreams 3D, I have heard of this one, but this also seems like, I don't know, like some kind of a shareware game or something. And also Spin Jam, which is another puzzle game. I'm not a big puzzle game player. My wife does like some puzzle games, although I don't know if she would play these or not. But they're, again, 99 cents, $1.99. If you're looking for something to just waste some time, it's kind of fun to just put on a new puzzle game every now and then and just try it out. Next up, we have Fighting Force, Warriors of Might and Magic. Those were also, I believe, $2 a piece. And then this one, I don't even know why I picked this up, to be honest. It's NFL Quarterback Club 97 for $1.99. I was buying other games, and this was sitting there, and I remember back in '97, there was a demo of this game on my on PC Gamer's demo disc, I believe. And at the time, I was running a computer that was just under the spec. It required a Pentium, and my computer was like a 486-100 or something like that. And so I used to try to play those games anyway, and I remember this one in particular, it just ran horribly on my computer. And so, but I remember looking at it thinking, oh, it looked really good, the graphics looked really good, I wish that it had worked. And, one of those weird memories that when I saw it and I picked this up, I'm like, oh, I remember having fond memories of this, this game, so what the heck. And then this is probably one of my favorite PS1 finds of the month. Tobal #1 for $1.99. This is just one of those games that, again, I don't expect to run into that often anymore because, it just looks, it's a Squaresoft game. It has Final Fantasy VII written on the cover there. And if anyone knows anything about games, they know, this is a good game too. So it comes in the double case. So for $1.99, that was exciting, a thrilling find. While I was out garage sailing a couple weeks ago, or last weekend, I think, a couple weekends ago, I came upon this guy. He had a really dingy garage sale. I mean, he was definitely a garbage picker that was putting stuff that he was finding, at different garbage situations out for sale. But surprisingly, the one thing he did have, though, was a lot of video games. They were dirty. So maybe he was finding these in the garbage. I don't know. But there were some decent games in there. He was asking, for the most part, eBay level prices for these games, and they were, gross. So the one thing, though, I picked up this batch of Dreamcast games that he had, and I'm like, what are you asking for these? And he said, oh, the Dreamcast games, I don't really know anything about those. I don't really care about those. I'm just looking to get rid of them. And so I had 4 of them, and I asked him if he'd take $8 for the set, and he said yes. So I was very happy to get, and they have been cleaned as well, by the way. King of Fighters, which this is Dream Match 99. This doesn't have the front of the case, but it's silver, which I believe is an RPG. I haven't played this one yet. This one I was really excited to get, and yeah, these last 2 were both Japanese games. And honestly, I don't even know. I've got a boot disc from my Dreamcast, so I hope that will allow me to play these because I haven't put them in yet. But yeah, I was really excited to find Godzilla Generations because I kind of remember hearing about this, but didn't know much about it. And you know, with the movie just recently coming out, I don't know, it seemed like it was going to be really cool. And I looked up some videos on it, read some reviews on it, and it's kind of a lackluster game. It still looks like fun. I'll definitely try it, but it doesn't look quite as exciting as I thought it was going to be. And then the other one is this Virtua Fighter 3 TB, and I don't think this didn't have the manual. But it does come with this disc here, Project Berkeley, and I'm not sure what that is. But I have Virtua Fighter 3 TB, the US version, and it doesn't come with Project Berkeley, so I figured why not? Let's go ahead and give it a shot. And I, again, like the double case, like the the Japanese version, something to add to my Dreamcast collection. So pretty good deal on those. Next, let's look at some NES games. And these were a couple of these I got actually from my father-in-law. He wants me to sell his old Nintendo games that he's no longer using. And so I pulled a couple of them out, and I'm just going to basically give him the the going rate for them, and just keep them in my collection. One of them is Wizards and Warriors, and then also Freedom Force. And then these next 3 I picked up at Goodwill, and yeah, these were again $5 each, which is definitely more than I like to pay for run-of-the-mill NES games, but they all 3 actually had some little thing about them that interested me, so I did go ahead and do it. First of all, Alien Syndrome, and yeah, this is a cool game. At least I had it on the Commodore 64, and of course I played the arcade game. Haven't tried it on the NES, but I love the Sega games on the NES. That's just, I don't know, there's something so wrong about that. And then next we have Archon, which includes the manual. And again, I had Archon also on my C64, and did put a lot of time into playing that game. Haven't tried the NES version, or maybe I think I may have played it a while back. But yeah, happy to have that. I know that I don't believe the NES version is as good as the C64 version was. But and then finally we've got the Three Stooges, and I saw somewhere recently where someone was talking about this game and said that this was really or a decently fun game, so figured why not. Let's see, I got one Sega Genesis game this month, Lotus 2, and this is actually a pretty cool game. I haven't tried the design your own tracks option yet, but I did play some races on it, and it's pretty good. It's got pretty smooth scaling road animation. And it looks like it's got a two-player version as well, which I didn't play. I just played the single player. But yeah, fun game. Did pretty well on the GameCube games this month. Got 3 games here. Super Monkey Ball for $2.99. And I have Super Monkey Ball 2, but I didn't have the original, so glad to get that. Smashing Drive, which I believe this game is pretty mediocre. If I'm not mistaken, I was reading about this a little bit, and I think that the arcade system that this runs on, or ran on, because this was an arcade game, I never saw it, but I looked into it and saw it was an arcade game, was like about as powerful as an N64. And so the graphics on here, they're upgraded a little bit, but they kind of look like N64 graphics from what I saw in the review. So that's kind of disappointing. But it, you know, I think it for for a few minutes of fun, I think it's not bad. And that was $3.99. And then finally, for also $2.99, we got Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life. And you know, this probably isn't really my kind of game. It's possible that my kids might like it, but probably not. So I don't know if I'm going to hold on to this one, trade it, sell it, whatever. But was happy to get it for a few bucks. And then staying on Nintendo for a minute here, I also got this bundle, the U-Draw tablet and studio. My son's been saying he wants this because my son's a diehard SpongeBob fan, and there's a SpongeBob game on the U-Draw. So I told him when I found it cheap enough, I would pick it up, and this was $4.99 for the bundle here. So I went ahead and grabbed it. And then a couple DS games here as well, and I don't remember how much these were. I believe they were only a couple bucks each. But first we've got Sonic Classic Collection, which is, you know, just the standard Genesis Sonic games. I think 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles. And then Sonic Rush Adventure. And I played both of these for a little bit. Rush Adventure, I was kind of put off by it when I started playing it. And I think it's just that newer style, the art style that they draw Sonic in now. And I was ready to kind of write it off. But then I did read some reviews on it, and people were saying that it was supposed to be a really good game. So I will probably give it another chance and, you know, see if I can learn to like it. It's just, like I said, I'm not a big fan of that more modern Sonic art style. Okay, so next, a couple PC games here. First of all, I have a soft spot every time I see this game for sale, Full Throttle for the PC. Because this game is just absolutely brilliant. I played this game shortly after I got my first PC. You know, I had my Commodore 64 long after the thing was, you know, had already been obsolete. And I didn't buy a PC. I was able to squeak through college using my Commodore 64. But by the mid-90s, of course, you know, the Commodore was pretty much useless to me. And so I did finally get my first PC, which was that 486 that I was talking about. And this game I got shortly after I got that PC. And if in a lot of ways, I think that this game spoiled me for what I expected games to be like on the PC after this game came out. This game to me still, you know, I urge you, if you don't know anything about Full Throttle, if nothing else, just watch like a YouTube video. Not the whole thing, you don't want to spoil it, but just to get a look, especially at the intro. You know, like the first 5 minutes of this game are just fantastic. The animation is, you know, it's low res, but other than that, it looks like, you know, something I would expect to see on, like, you know, the I was going to say Saturday morning cartoons, but that doesn't even exist anymore. But it's very good. It's high quality animation. And again, I felt like this was kind of the standard that other games should live up to. And it was years before I saw another game that did storytelling as well as this one. So yeah, this game is awesome. And for 99 cents, of course I picked it up. I've already got it. And again, I'll probably either trade it in, you know, find somebody that hasn't played it, something like that. I don't know. But Full Throttle, great game. One of my all-time favorites. And then I also picked up at Half Price Books. I've been looking at this game just because I'm looking for another driving simulation that I can use my Logitech steering wheel with. And they had this game there for a while, NK Pro Racing. And it was marked at like $5-6 or something like that, and I just, you know, was never interested. It's supposed to be a decent game, but you know, it's kind of a much smaller scale than something like a Gran Turismo. Only a handful of cars. I don't even know if it's got real cars in it or not, but it's supposed to have a pretty good driving model. But yeah, they clearanced it down to $2, brand new. So figured I'll give it a shot at some point. Let's see here. Next, let's look at some PS2 games. I'm going to start from the bottom here. This just makes me laugh. It's Space Channel 5, new, sealed for $2.99 at Goodwill, brand new. This was actually picked up probably about 9 months ago. But if you've seen my other videos, I've got this Toyota MR2 that I drive in the summertime, and the outside I keep spotless. The inside is usually a disorganized mess because, you know, the primary thing I do with it is I take it out on either garage sailing or thrifting, and so I end up with a lot of bags and stuff like that in there, and just random junk that I buy. And this was random junk that I bought one day right near the end of last summer, and you know, it was $2.99. It was sealed. I bought it. Wasn't too excited about it. Already have the game, but you know, just picked it up because it was sealed. So I just tossed it on the passenger side floor, and then put the car away for the winter. And when I pulled it out recently, there was this game still sitting in, like, you know, a bag underneath 2 other bags, something like that. I was digging through all the garbage, trying to clean some of it out, and I'm like, there's stuff in these bags, and I pull it out in the video game. Okay, but yes, on a more pleasant subject, this was, I think, $2.99 at Savers. Escape from Monkey Island, which, very excited. Speaking of Tim Schafer, I don't know if Tim Schafer actually had anything to do with this one, though. I think probably not. I think he was gone from LucasArts by this point. I could be completely wrong on that, but it doesn't say his name anywhere. But yeah, of course, Tim Schafer, I believe, wrote the original Monkey Island. But these are quality games. Let's see. And we got Guilty Gear XX Core, or Accent Core, for $4.99 at Goodwill. Picked up Dark Cloud, and if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this was also just a couple bucks. It was in kind of a beat-up case, so I switched it into a new case. But yeah, complete game manual, all that. I had this game once before. Pete Dorr did a video playthrough on this a while back, and it interested me enough that I thought about giving it a shot, but then I ended up trading the game to somebody or something, but now I've got it again. Maybe I'll give it a shot one of these days. And then we got Shell Shock NAM 67, which I picked up for $2.99 at Goodwill. You know, I knew this game was going to be awful. I remember with this, there were a bunch of Vietnam games that came out all around the same time. You know, we had a bunch of World War II games, but a few of those had actually turned out to be decent, like Medal of Honor and Call of Duty. And so when they switched over to these Vietnam era games for a while, I'd assumed that, you know, there might be 1 or 2 good ones in the bunch, and I remember that the reviews for all of them were pretty bad, but I was always kind of interested to at least give them a try. So I picked up NAM 67 for $2.99, and, you know, I played it for a little bit, and it's like insultingly bad. It's just, they tout on the box unnerving realism, intense combat, character growth, and they show scenes that make it look like you're making these hard choices, you know, out in the bush, like in Apocalypse Now. But then when you actually play it, it's a bunch of low poly, you know, semi-Vietnamese looking characters running at you saying, "Go home, GI, go home, GI," and just running at you suicide style from the, you know, fog 20 feet away. And that's it. That seriously is it. I mean, I haven't played through the whole game. I played through a few levels of it, and there was no unnerving realism. It was so unrealistic. It was a joke. I mean, it was like 3D Robotron, where the enemy screams out, "Go home, GI." So yeah, pretty bad, and I'll probably be getting rid of that one, maybe bundling it with the system or something like that. Let's see. Okay, last batch here. Oh, no, and then one other thing. Actually, let's talk about that first real quick. So if you remember in my last video, I picked up a GameCom, and I didn't have any games for it. So I went looking on eBay, because you're never going to find GameCom games locally. So I went hunting around on eBay, and I found this bundle. This guy sold me 6 games for $32 shipped, I believe. So I went ahead, and they're all brand new. So I went ahead and jumped on that, and here are the games that I got in this bundle. And I played 2 of them so far. Williams Arcade Classics, horrible. I mean, horrible. And Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which is 1,000 times worse than Williams Arcade Classics. I mean, Williams Arcade Classics has the slightest resemblance to the source material. Mortal Kombat Trilogy is just... Here's the thing. Here's what I've figured out about the GameCom. Is it's made by Tiger, okay? I think everybody knows that. But Tiger, the systems that they made before that, or the games they made before that, were all the LCD games, which, you know, they had like, if you know how LCD games work, which I'm sure most of you do, they have the set number of, you know, little pictures that all it does is just animate the screen in the most simple way by just moving the picture around in, you know, one of its 10 different options or whatever on the screen. There's no graphics per se. There's no pixels. And that's exactly how they program these games. So the GameCom obviously has pixels. I believe it must be such a slow pixel processor. I mean, yes, of course, the screen itself is terrible and it's so blurry. But the other thing you notice is that the draw rate of the system is just very slow. It doesn't do any kind of fast animation. But the way that the animation works is very similar. You can see that they have like 2 frames of animation for each character, and they move onto like, you know, 10 different areas of the screen. There's like no in between with most of these games. So it's like they took their philosophy, if you will, from those older systems and applied that to these GameCom games. I don't know. Maybe I'm putting too much thought into it, but they're all terrible. So also Tiger Casino, which I guess this probably has the most fun I've had with my GameCom so far has been playing solitaire on it. So I could see how this could potentially have some entertainment value as well. Indy 500. Just watched a Classic Game Room review of this game. And, you know, the Classic Game Room guy, Mark, he likes pretty much every game, or not, if not likes, at least, you know, has something decent to say about it. And he hated this game with the heat of 1,000 suns. And I saw why when I watched the video. So not really looking forward to trying that out. Oh, here we go. Wheel of Fortune. Which, again, I guess this would probably sort of work, and with the touchscreen maybe even work decently. And finally, what I'm sure will be terrible, Fighters Mega Mix. You know, an interesting thing, too, about the GameCom, as I put these back in the box, is that I remember at the time being baffled as to how in the world, you know, I knew that this thing was terrible. The buzz on it, you know, and the reviews and things like that were all saying this thing was awful at the time it came out. But it had these big licenses. You know, it had Duke Nukem, it had Resident Evil, plus all those Sega games, Mortal Kombat. And I was like, how did they get the license to do all these different games? And it was because they had a separate licensing deal with all these video game companies to make those little portable games, you know, the little handheld translations that they made for all those games back then. You know, they made like Mortal Kombat ones and Virtua Fighter and Fighters Mega Mix and all that stuff. So because they had those licenses already in place, they could then use those IPs to make these Gamecom games as well. So interesting little tidbit there. Okay, finally, we've got a few current gen games here. Just picked this up today with those PlayStation games. It's Little Big Planet for $4.99. Haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. My son actually wants to play this one as well. And then speaking of my son, his birthday was yesterday, and one of the things that we got for him was Tomodachi Life. And he is loving this game so far. I mean, I knew that this game was just going to be perfect for him because he's Alex Epic 693. Check out his channel. He's a unique character, and he's got a really interesting sense of humor. And one of the things about this game is that it is very random, and he loves random jokes and random humor. When he added me into the game, I think I was having a dream. They'll show you your dreams, and in my dream, I became Jimtron 2000 or something like that, and my motto was always wash your hands after you wash your hands. And of course my son loved that. Alex Epic 693 loved it. Okay, and then I picked up Resistance 3. This was brand new at Goodwill for $3.99, sealed. Not sure why. But I have 1 and 2 that I picked up cheaply as well. And, you know, I think these are all supposed to be at least decent games. So look forward to trying those at some point. And then I picked up this sealed 360 game, Madden 09. And again, why this was sitting there sealed, I don't know. Why do I ask questions? For $2.99. And here's the interesting thing about this. So, you know, I figured because it was sealed, just about anything sealed these days is worth something. So I figured I'd pick it up. I really have no interest in playing it. But I went to look up to see what they sold for. And it was the most interesting phenomenon, which was that when people listed it as just Madden 09 new sealed, it was selling for $5. But then when they would list it for Madden 09 Favre edition, new and sealed, then it was selling for like $40. So what I realized is this was, I believe, his last cover, if I'm not mistaken. And of course it was kind of like a tribute to him because this was, I think, the year he retired, or at least this was the year he left the Packers. That's right. He did venture over to Minnesota for a while, but there's a lot of nostalgia, I think, for his last year in Green Bay. So if you relate it to that, then it seems to be worth quite a bit more. So we'll see. I'll probably will be selling that at some point, again, just to fund the rest of this good stuff. And then finally, recently, Metal Jesus Rocks has been doing his Xbox 360 Hidden Gems. And one of the games he talked about on there that just looked incredible to me, and I'd never heard of it or never really seen it before, was Enslaved Odyssey to the West. And as you see here, I've actually got the PS3 version. After he talked about this, I happened to be over by a GameStop, so I decided to stop in and just see how much this game was going for. And I saw it on the PS3, and it was only $6.99, so I picked it up. As it turned out, they didn't even have it for the 360. They were out of stock of it or whatever. But I looked it up, and it looks like the two versions are pretty much identical, so I just went ahead and picked it up on the PS3 for $6.99, which is not a bad deal. Pretty cheap, actually. And again, if you watch that video, that I think it was the first episode of Xbox 360 Hidden Gems, he did a pretty long segment on this game, and it looked really solid. All right, well, I think that's it. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, for sticking with me for this another long video. And based on the way that things have been going, I think I'll probably be doing another one probably the end of May or end of June, early July. So tune in then, and I do have some more Arcade Chronicles coming. Again, things just been really busy lately, hectic, but summer vacation is nearly upon us, and life becomes much more relaxed at that point. So I will hopefully have time to do more Arcade Chronicles soon. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.